What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your mini IR4. Along with the light itself, it also comes with a wireless remote to control the light, and it also comes with a charger to charge your light. So on the light itself, you'll see this bracket here that we can use to angle the light in different positions. This is especially useful for wall washing, so you can angle your light however you want and place it a few inches away from the wall so that the light is hitting the wall the way you want. Or another way to use your lights for wall washing is by using the feet here on the bottom of the light and placing it right up against the wall so that the light is shining upwards. You can also use these wall washing techniques to light up a DJ facade. And also with the feet, you can place the light inside of a totem stand to light it up. Now going back to the bracket, you'll see this hole here in the middle, and we can use this to attach a lighting clamp to mount the light onto a truss. So to do that, you can take a lighting clamp like our LC70 here and take out the bolt. You can then take your bolt and run it through the bottom of the hole here on the bracket. Then you can take your clamp and line it back up to the bolt and screw it on. So now that you've got the clamp attached to the light, you can loosen up this knob here to open the clamp up. And once there's enough room, you can line the clamp up to a spot on your truss and then tighten the knob to secure the light onto the truss. From there, you're still able to angle the light so that it's hitting your stage or subject the way you want it. So let's get to know the light a bit better, starting with this button here. This acts as the power button to turn the light on. So we're gonna go ahead and click this on right now. Once you do that, you'll see the display light up where you can see what mode the light is set to. You also have the battery life indicator. You can also see the wireless group ID here, and you can see if the IR is turned on for the light. To circle back to that battery life indicator, you'll see 3 bars lit up here. If it's filled all the way up to the green light, that means it has plenty of battery life. If it's lit up to the middle bar, you only have about half of the battery life left. And if it's only showing the last bar, that means that it's low on battery and you'll want to take your charger and plug it into this port here to charge your light. Underneath the display, we have the different buttons to control the light. So we have the mode button here to cycle between the different modes available. And then we have the enter button to enter a sub menu for specific modes. And this varies from mode to mode. For example, if we press enter in the color fade mode, we'll go into the sub menu where we can control the speed of the color fade. While in the sound modes, we can press enter to adjust the sensitivity of the microphone that picks up the sound for the light, and so on and so forth. So let's go through the different modes to see what this light can do. If you want to follow along, we're going to start with the color menu here. So all you have to do is press the mode button until you see the COL light up on your display. So the color mode allows us to set up a custom color for the light. So for example, if we press enter, the first option we have is to control the red LEDs coming out of the light. So it's all the way at 0 right now, but if we cycle to 99, then you'll see the red LEDs shining through the light. And we can adjust this, so if we want less light to come through, we can cycle down. So at about 50%, this is how much red will come through. Then we can press enter again. And now the G menu or the green menu will come up so we can adjust how much green comes through. So again, same principle, we can either have a lot of green shining through or we can adjust it so that very little amount of green comes through. And then we can adjust other colors like the blue LEDs. So I'm gonna add a little bit of blue here. There's also a white LED control. There is also a yellow LED control. I'm gonna add some yellow right now. And then there's a purple control, so you can add some purple. After that, it cycles right back to red, and then once we're all set, we can press the mode button again. The next mode allows us to control the global brightness, so we can either have this at 1, 2, 3, or 4. Then we have the display mode where we can customize how the display will show on the light. So we can press enter and set this either to on so that it shows throughout the whole time. We can set it to 10 where the display will only show for 10 seconds. There's also a 20-second option and a 30-second option. So after the 10, 20, or 30 seconds, you won't see what mode the light is set to, but you're still gonna see the battery life indicator, the IR indicator, and the wireless group ID. Speaking of which, we have the wireless group ID mode here. So we can cycle between the wireless group ID that the light is set to. And this allows us to sync our lights up in master slave mode, sync up the lights to our wireless DMX controller, and so on. Also keep in mind, these wireless group IDs are color coded, which makes it very easy to sync them up. So we have 1 for red, we have 2 for green, 3 for yellow, 4 for blue, 5 for purple, 6 for cyan, and 7 for white. So again, you can set your lights and or your DMX controller to the same wireless group IDs, and then they're all gonna communicate together, but we're gonna go over that later on step by step to show you how to link them all together. Next, we have the IR mode where we can turn on or turn off the IR connection between the wireless remote and the light. This may come in handy with slave lights that you have set up in your chain, and you can turn this off by using the up or down button. So this way you avoid pointing your remote at a slave light and throwing the rest of the lights out of sync. Next to that, we have the master mode where we can set this to on or off. So if you're using the master slave function, you'll want to turn this on for your main light, and then you can set this off for the rest of the lights in the chain. Then after that, we have the DMX or slave mode. So again, if you're setting up the master slave function, you can set all of your lights to the slave mode here. Or if you're setting up your lights to a DMX controller, you can use this menu to set up the DMX address for your lights. Next to that is the DMX channel mode, where we can set the light either to 6 channel mode or 10 channel mode to determine how much control we have over the lights with a wireless DMX controller. 6 channel mode only allows you to set up a custom color with your controller with the 6 faders, while 10 channel mode allows you to use all 10 faders to control the colors, the overall brightness, strobe, or you can use the controller to set your lights to one of the preset modes and control the speed of the modes. Next, we have the color mode where we can set our light to a static color, and we can use the up or down button to cycle between the different shades of colors. So we have different shades of red, different shades of green, different shades of yellow, blue, etc. And we have up to 48 different colors, so you'll have plenty of options. So in this mode, we can press enter to go into the sub menu that activates the strobe mode. So we can set this up to 1 for a slow strobe, and then we can go all the way up for a fast strobe. And then the higher you go, the faster the strobe will be. Next, we have the jump mode where the light jumps between different colors, and we can use the up or down buttons to control the speed of the jump. Next, we have the fade mode where the light will fade between each color, and we actually have 2 options for this. So we have color fade 1 and color fade 2. And once you choose which one you want to use, you can press enter and use the up or down buttons to control the speed of the color fade. Next, we have the sound mode where the light interacts with any sound to change color. As you can see right now, it's changing color with the sound of my voice. And we have 4 different sound modes. So we have sound mode 1 right here, sound mode 2, sound mode 3, and sound mode 4. And like I mentioned before, we can press enter to go into the sub menu to adjust the sensitivity of the built-in mic. So if you wanted your light to interact with the sound easily, you're gonna want to set this all the way up to 9. And then if you set it any lower, it makes it less sensitive. So the music or the voice has to be a lot louder in order for the light to change color. And lastly, we have the app group mode where we can set our lights to one of the 4 app groups. So with this, you can have 4 different groups of lights set up and control them all with the app that you can download onto your smartphone or tablet. When you press enter, you can find the custom code that you need to sync up your smartphone or tablet to the lights through your Wi-Fi. So aside from using the actual controls, another way we can control our light is by setting up a wireless DMX controller. So let me get one right now along with another light to show you how to set them up. Cool, so I got 2 of my lights and a wireless DMX controller. So one of the first things I'm gonna want to do is assign them all to the same wireless group ID. This will allow my lights to communicate with my controller. So on the light itself, we're gonna want to cycle to the wireless group ID mode by pressing the mode button until we see the display look like this. So we have 7 different IDs to choose from, and they're all color coded. So we have 1 as red, 2 as green, 3 as yellow, 4 as blue, 5 as purple, 6 as cyan, and 7 as white. So you can set this up to whatever might be most convenient for your setup. So for today, we're gonna set it to 4 for the blue ID. And then use this button right next to the switch to set my controller to the same wireless ID group, which again is blue. And then after that, the controller should have this flashing red light, meaning that it's synced up to the lights, but we're not done yet. On the lights themselves, we recommend going to the master mode and turning it off since we're using our controller. And then you're gonna set your lights to the DMX mode and set them to the same DMX address. For today, we're just gonna use 001. Once you go to the DMX mode, you should see the wireless group ID icon flash, letting us know our lights are all ready to go with our controller. The last thing we can do on our lights is set up the DMX channel mode so we can determine how much control we have with our controller over our lights. So we can press enter and choose either 6-channel mode or 10-channel mode. 6-channel mode only allows you to set up a custom color with your controller with the 6 faders, while 10-channel mode allows you to use all 10 faders to control the colors, the overall brightness, strobe, or you can use the controller to set your lights to one of the preset modes and control the speed of the modes. For today's demo, we're gonna set our lights to 10-channel mode. And now we can go through all of the faders and see what they do for our lights. So starting with fader 1, this acts as our master dimmer. So we're gonna set this all the way up for right now. Then next to that, we have fader 2 to control the red LEDs coming out of our lights. So the more we raise that, the more red comes through. Fader 3 controls the green LEDs, so we can raise that to add some green to the mix. Then we have fader 4 to add some blue, fader 6 to control the amber LEDs, and fader 7 to control the ultraviolet LEDs. So you can adjust faders 2 through 7 to make a fully customized color. Then we have fader 8, which acts as the strobe control. So if we raise that just a little bit, we have a slow strobe, and then the higher we raise it, the faster the strobe will be. So for now, I'm gonna set all of these faders down except for fader 1, and then I'm gonna use the page select button so we can use faders 9 and 10. Now with fader 9, we can set our lights to the preset modes like fade, jump, etc. And to do that, it ultimately depends on where we set our fader or what value our fader is set to. Keep in mind, you can use the display here on your controller to keep track of what value your fader is set to. So for example, if we set fader 9 to about 90, this will activate the color fade mode. And then next to that, we have fader 10 to control the speed of the fade. So right now it's all the way down, but the higher we raise fader 10, the faster the color fade. Now keep in mind, if you wanted to set up more than 2 lights to your controller, you're gonna follow the same exact steps by setting all of your lights to the same wireless group ID, turn off the master mode for each light, then you're gonna go to the DMX address mode and set the lights to the same DMX address and set them to the same DMX channel mode. Now, one way to control several lights without a DMX controller is by using the master slave function. For this demo, I'm just gonna use 2 of these lights here, but I'm gonna choose which one I wanna use as my master light. So I'm gonna go with this guy here. I'm gonna go to the master mode by pressing the mode button until we see the display look like this. If it's off, you can use the up or down button to turn it on. And then you can go to the slave lights that you wanna set up and make sure that all of them have the master mode turned off. So just like we did with the DMX controller, we're also going to want to set our lights to the same wireless group ID by going to the wireless group ID display here and choosing a matching wireless group. So for today, I'm going to stay on the blue ID and make sure that it's set on both of my lights, and make sure that it's set to the same ID on all of the lights that I'm using. And I'm also gonna recommend going to all of the slave lights that you have set up in your chain, go to the IR mode, and make sure that it's turned to off. This way you avoid the risk of pointing your remote to the slave light and setting everything out of sync. So now what we're gonna do is set all of these slave lights to the slave mode. Once they're all set up, all of your slave lights should have the wireless group ID flashing, while the wireless group ID on your master light stays solid. And now on my master light, if I set it to any mode or color, it's gonna take a second, but all of the slave lights are gonna follow. Now you can either use the buttons underneath the display to make any changes, or you can use the included remote. The remote has the same exact controls and functions, except it's more convenient because it's handheld. So if I wanted to, I can change the color of the light just like that. I could also set it to any of the auto modes and much more. Now the remote will work with your lights whether they're set to master slave mode or even if they're just simply taken out of the box. If you want the remote to work with your lights without the master slave function, you can go to each light and make sure that the master mode is turned off and make sure that the IR setting on each light is turned on. So now I can take my remote, point at each light, and change it to whatever I want. What's also cool about the remote is that each control is sectioned off. So for example, you have the sound modes in this blue section, the colors in this gray section, and so on. So we're actually gonna go through step by step on what each control does. Starting with the top of the remote, you have the brightness buttons here. Moving on to the blue section here, we have the sound control. So we can set our lights to sound control 1, sound control 2, sound control 3, or sound control 4. And also from the remote, we can adjust the microphone sensitivity. So if we want our lights to be more responsive, we can increase the sensitivity. And if we want them to be less responsive, we can lower the sensitivity. Then we have the green section for the DMX or slave mode. So we can turn our lights to DMX or slave mode right from here. We can use the up or down buttons to change the DMX address if we're using our DMX controller. And what's also cool is if we press the slave button again, we can even adjust the DMX channel mode. And then we can use the up or down buttons to set it to either 6-channel mode or 10-channel mode. Next to that, we have the auto mode section to set our lights to any of the preset modes, like jump mode. And then below that, we can use the up or down buttons to change the speed of any of the modes. And lastly, we have the gray section to control all of the colors that we have available. So we have red, green, blue, white, amber, UVs, and then we have a color bank. And we also have the ability to adjust the shades of each color. So for example, if I set each of the lights to the amber color, I can use the up or down buttons to control the shade of amber. So I can lower it to make it a lighter shade of amber, or I can increase it to make it a darker shade of amber. So I can do this with all of the color options. So I can cycle between the different shades of red, the different shades of green, etc. But when I press this color bank button, I can use the up or down arrows to cycle between all of the shades of colors. Then when we have our lights set to the color that we want, we can activate the strobe mode by pressing the strobe button here. And then we can even use these buttons here to adjust the speed of the strobe. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your mini IR4 lights. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.